Good morning, everybody. Happy Saturday. This is Finding the Stories Presents Why We Create. I'm Charles McFall, the host of Finding the Stories. We've got Phil Keating, who's executive producer, and we are happy to have on Barr Foxx of Create Your Way.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
And it's not Create Your Way is not the only thing that you do.
Oh, no. So it was Cosplay Your Way.
I am sorry. I'm giving you a new brand.
It's not, advertised anywhere or anything like that.
10 o'clock on a Saturday is like 4 a.m. on any other night. Just saying.
I do know that you're really bad at reading the room, but at least read the shirt, for Christ's sakes.
But that's fine. But it's Cosplay Your Way, but it's good. And I'm also a television and film producer. So some of the shows that you're watching, maybe not, and some of the things that you've seen, I have had a big hand in it. I've been lucky enough to work for people that I consider wonderful mentors, Ricky Smiley, Tyler Perry, Magic Johnson. I actually launched his network. I know it was at a time where networks were not being launched, but I got a chance to do it even in the last lap, so I'm happy about that.
Nice.
And so now I currently work at TPS, where I'm over about 6 shows. And hopefully you guys are checking them out on BET Plus and Hulu and Apple TV. Also, I have a documentary that I put out called Cosplay Your Way in Color. It was created to make sure that people of color had a space and were seen and were spotlighted in the world of cosplay. To date, it has won 2 Telly Awards, numerous film awards from festivals, and hopefully I'll have some good news in about a week or two of some other platforms that it gets to go on. And I'm just really excited about that. It was a passion project. I'm sure we'll get into that type of stuff and why.
All that. So we already want to take questions, so definitely have your questions ready. We'll talk about DragonCon charity. We've got 3 QR codes here. The QR code all the way to this side is a DragonCon charity partner, which is Cure Childhood Cancer. Cure is dedicated to conquering childhood cancer through funding targeted research while supporting patients and their families. Please use this QR code to donate. We do take cash as well. DragonCon matches up to $125,000. So every dollar you put in, they will double it. And last year, they finally hit the marker that has been the marker for a very long time of $100,000. They matched it fully, so they upped it to 125. So if we had 125 this year, it's going to go up again. And it's always a good charity to have. Our track sponsored, a digital media track, has a sponsor this year. It is zakat.org. For over 22 years, they've been empowering lives through disaster relief, food distribution, orphan care, and more. Their top-notch ratings from Charity Navigator and the Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, means your contributions are going to make a difference. And they picked the kids up there because it just so happened this year they're focused on the Giza Hospital, which has hospitals around the world that is also helping kids with their diseases. So it just lined up real perfect for us this year. So check them out, and we very much are happy that they helped us out this year. So I understand that you're just kind of up and coming. You're getting there. You're getting there. Telly Award, wait till you get a party. Wait till you get a podcast award. You'll be all right. But no, Barr, I was very happy to have Barr. I wanted to set the tone for the con each day. And yesterday we did Where We Create with Ming Chen came in, and he has podcast studios around New Jersey and talks about what he does. I thought, Barr, you'd be perfect for Why We Create, because your story is very much that quote of be the difference you want to see in the world.
Absolutely.
And so where do you want to start with Why You Create?
Exactly that. I want people to be spotlighted. I fight for the underdogs. So when I don't see something being represented that I think should be represented, opposed to asking and begging and pleading to get the chance to be seen, if I'm in an opportunity or a space where I can create it, even on a small level, I try to create it and push it as far as I can. Now, I've been lucky in that arena because I'll create some things and it'll get enough buzz, or it has gotten enough buzz where people gravitate toward it. When I was younger, I was told, you're not noticed until you're noticed. And I was like, what are you talking about? That makes no sense. But now that we're in the world of digital, I totally understand it now, because it's basically create a buzz, put a spotlight on yourself, then people see that, and then it has a potential of helping it elevate. So that's why I do what I do. Even when I work for Magic Johnson, I was like, you know what? Let's create vignettes instead of just commercials on the network that spotlights people of color doing extraordinary or doing things that people don't expect them to do. So I had a black female NASCAR driver, spotlighted her, black surfer. I mean, just things that people didn't associate people of color doing. And I took the time to make sure all of those things were pushed. And it became one of the better segments. I mean, it was vignettes, commercials, and people were clamoring to be part of that because it was a movement and it got to spotlight different things opposed to sports and some other things, which are great, but we wanted to see and show that people of color do all kinds of things.
I'm glad you specified sports because I'm a huge nerd and I thought Magic Johnson was just about Vegas magicians or something. So I appreciate you, man. Always clarifying. I said it's like 4 a.m. anywhere else in the world, Phil. Just roll with it, baby. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and get some questions. What questions do you have for Barr? Go ahead and come up to the microphone, and we'll keep talking. But you're free. Don't be afraid. It's all good. Because you talk about now you work with some big time creators. You've done some amazing things. You're still doing a lot of amazing things. What was one of the first projects that you felt like people noticed?
Whoa. Okay, you're taking me back a long time.
You're only 20. It can't be that far back.
I'm only 20. I've done 40 years of work in 20 years.
You're efficient.
Yeah.
What's the first one that? Oh Lord, that is so wow. Look, you're making me want to pull up my IMDb.
Yeah, I can do that.
You can do that? Okay, pull up my IMDb. Look, Google me.
That's the car. It says Barr Foxx. You flip it over, Google me. It's all good.
Because there have been some great shows that I've been part of. I'm trying to think of the ones that. Well, you know what? I'm going to say this. So while I was working for Magic Johnson, I didn't only get to work on great stuff. They allowed me the opportunity to create a show. And it was called Jam Sessions. And what happened with that show is I come from a musical background as well, and I got into television, and I wanted to figure out a way, one, to combine that, and two, to help showcase some people that I have met along the years that did music. So at the time, I was like, let's do jam sessions. I'm going to bring on artists to perform that I have ran into over the course of my life. And these are big artists. They're national artists that I know. And then I was like, but we're going to do it acoustically because it needs to be people that can actually sing, people that can play. We're going to really kind of make it intimate as much as possible. When I did that, had no idea that it was going to get the recognition that it did, I started pulling in the biggest sponsors for the network. And the marketing team can attest to that because I got a call from them and was like, whoa, because of this show, now we are getting sponsorships from these people because they really like it. Interestingly enough, when I came up with the concept, I was told nobody likes music shows anymore. So if you do this, just do it and, it'll probably be a one-off. But that wasn't accurate, thankfully, and it grew into something bigger. So that was one of the first times that I not only produced a show, but I got to direct it, and it was my concept that played nationally.
That was
That's
awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, with all the big projects and little projects that you've done and created over the last couple of years, what's one of the projects that still to this day kind of resonates with you that was like, this may not have gotten the most spotlight, but it definitely spoke to me the most, and that's the most proud that I've been to produce something?
Oh, wow. Okay, so besides Cosplay Your Way in Color, I really enjoyed doing March, and March aired on CW last year. And it was a way it did spotlight the band at HBCU. And I didn't go to a HBCU, so I found it really interesting to go into that world and find out what it takes to be in the band. Because for people that don't do certain things, you assume it's easy, you assume it's gravy. And doing that story and meeting those kids and telling their stories as a producer, it was so fantastic. And I learned a lot because so much goes into being in a band, so much practice. They don't really get to just enjoy, I shouldn't say enjoy, sorry. They don't get to take advantage of all the things in college that some people do because they are on a really strict routine.
It's a regiment. It's a military regiment. Most certainly.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I was so proud of that. And then it was also CW's, I think I can say first time, venturing into the reality space. So that was also an honor to get the opportunity to work on a show that they were taking a chance on and opening up and expanding their reach as well.
That's awesome. We have one of the, I think one of the best HBCUs here, Moreland. Over here on, not Moreland, Morehouse.
Morehouse. Oh, yeah.
Moreland, we got Moreland Drive.
Moreland Drive,
but
yeah.
Morehouse College. Second coffee, working on it. Just.
Oh, yeah, Morehouse and
Best little Morehouse in
Spelman
Atlanta.
and Morris Brown and Clark,
Yeah.
they are like really amazing. That center, the HBU Center, is a great place to find inspirations where we used to actually party and have a great time back in the days of Freaknik.
How about that? I won't date you, but I know the time frame.
I mean, I was a baby, but
Yeah.
back in the days of Freaknik, it was just so amazing.
I think one of the questions that most people would want to ask is, you're by all means successful now. But you didn't start off successful. You didn't grow up, Tyler Perry's my uncle and he gave me all my opportunities.
No.
What made you go, I want to do this first creative, it doesn't have to be the first creative project, but what made you push and get into it to keep then getting these opportunities to do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing?
Oh, wow, that's a great story. So as a child, I wanted to be on television and sing. So as I stated before, my background was in music. I was doing choreography. I was dancing for professional groups. And that led me to being able to host a TV show when I was young. It was a local TV show. And it played in 3 states, the tri-state area. So that just gave me more of a buzz because I'm like, I love being on the show. I love being able to talk to people. It improved my interviewing skills, my talking skills.
Now, how old were you?
Back then, that was going out of high school into college. So yeah, like 18, 19. So that was such a wonderful experience. So when I moved to be the main host of the show, I started wanting to see if I could have some more influence on how it was portrayed and how they cut stuff. So I said, can I sit in the editing suite with you? I just want to see how you do things. And they were like, come on in, we need help. So as I sat in there, I started seeing how to block. I started seeing how to do things and how we could, if we didn't have enough people that day because it was a dance show, we could take that corner and angle the cameras correctly to make it look full and create this full feeling.
Environment.
The magic.
Yeah. So when I was learning all of those things, I was like, this is great. So I kind of want to know more of this. So came down here, was dancing, working with some artists, writing music and doing stuff. And then I started working on blocking the sets for them or helping to create the environment and coming up with concepts. Then I was like, I want to edit it. I think I can put it together. Obviously, I have a problem. I always think I can do it better, right?
If you're ever admitting that you want to edit something, yes, you have a problem.
This is an intervention. You didn't.
So I was like, I want to edit. So I had a friend. Her name is Dina Noel. She is the dopest editor in the world. And I called her because she was working on movies back then, like before this was Black Hollywood. And I called her and I said, I would like to edit, so I want to help you with some stuff. And she was like, if you learn it, come in and I'll give you some small projects. And I was like, that's nothing to me. I'm going to learn it over the weekend and I'm going to be in there. And
over the weekend?
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I said.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's really easy.
That's what I thought.
Especially back then when we didn't have YouTube or
He might be a
anything.
savant. I don't know. He might have just liked that.
We had to read these manuals
That's
for
just- yeah.
Adobe Premiere and whatnot.
That's just what I said. I was completely wrong. It was not a weekend thing. But as I went in and she gave me little tasks, I was just learning. So before I knew it in about 6 months, 3 to 6 months, I was able to take on projects and edit them myself. So it was just a wonderful, wonderful level up for me. So then after that, I said, I love editing. But if I could just kind of influence what the material looks like before it comes in, that would even make it better. And I can make sure the stories that I feel are being missed can be told. So then I got into producing. And I was like, this way I could kind of say, hey, I love that you want to talk about this, but this is also an angle to it. Let me tell you why and let me pitch it. So I think that's how I kind of evolved. A lot of hiccups along the way. Please know it was not just smooth sailing. You constantly get people telling you you can't do some things. You constantly getting people telling you that you have to prove it to me. There are some times that I went in and took a job that I could do with my eyes closed, but that person needed it to be proven to them. I'm glad that I had the energy and the desire at that time to do those things. I don't know if I have that now. I don't know if you.
But also, you have the credits.
Well, I have the credits
yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just a wonderful walk and ride, and to see so many of my associates and friends level up as well. As I told you, Dina Noel that I was talking about, she's so amazing. She has moved on to the big leagues, Marvel. So it's just amazing to have been with people back in those days, and so many of them have just branched out, and we are still connected.
I love it. Yeah.
I do also love that you really cut your teeth in the editing booth, because I personally feel like that is a big fundamental building block that a lot of creators don't really start with, and they should, because that's where, like you said, you get to understand how to tell the story through cutting and pasting and putting these pieces together, but also you understood framing and how shots should be lined up, and even little things that you don't think about, like proper lighting, comes down to the editing. So as somebody who spent his entire high school career alone in his basement editing footage, right, it was funny because you were like, oh, do you mind if I come in and help? Hell yeah. If you're going to make that mistake to even ask, you're coming down here in the hole with me. So I love that was your entry point into getting your feet wet into what you've turned into in the projects that you've turned into. So it's wonderful.
Thank you. I agree, because I tell people, especially producers now, because I had, and the word for us was so ugly. It's like predator. I don't know why I'm a predator, producer, editor. Who knows? Who came up with that one, right?
I'm going to bring Uncle Jabbar to career day at middle school.
He's
Hi,
a
everybody.
predator.
This is my Uncle Phil. He's a predator.
I was like, well, yeah, I don't love it so much. But anyway, I tell producers when I'm helping to encourage them or train them, I let them know that get in the editing suite. You're going to learn so much more. It's also going to teach you. Because one thing I was not going to be is that producer that came in and made requests or asked you things that were completely ridiculous. And, editors will look at you like you have two heads.
Yeah. Because I need these 6 changes. Well, that's going to take me 40 hours to do. Great. I need it in 3.
Right.
Because, and it's just little things like that just make projects better, because you understand how much time and work and effort it goes into. And I'm all about
He's going back. Yeah. So a funny story though I have to tell. So I had hired some editors that came into the office. I needed something cut, and I did make a request. I said, "Hey, could you change this and do it this way?" And because they had not worked with me before, and they're used to most producers not having a clue how to edit, they told me they couldn't do it, or it would take a day and a half to do it, something crazy. So I said, I understand completely. Do you mind if I sit down in front of you and just try something? And they were like, yeah, go ahead. So I sat down, made the fix that I needed to do in 2 minutes.
Nice.
2 minutes. And I got up and said, okay, this is what I wanted to happen. Thank you. And I love their faces, because right after that, they looked up and said, oh, you edit? And I said, I do. So going forward, when I make a request, please know that I'm speaking from experience, and I'm not asking you to do something that I think is ridiculous and has weird time.
Were you actually that nice handling it?
I was. Yeah.
Well,
That's beautiful,
in their defense, the render time did take 36 hours.
For that 2-minute cut.
Yeah, I thought it was a teachable lesson, and I am really big on running my sets and the staff with kindness as long as I can, even when some of them kind of flex up, because as you know, I need editors. And I need you to stay late sometimes. And there are hours that you put in that most people are not going to put in. So I don't want to create some dynamic of, you're upset with me. But I think they learned their lesson. Now, maybe if they would have did it again, I probably would have turned up to just a little. But they learned their lesson, and after that, I had no issues with them.
No, but kind and stern, you can do that, and sometimes you have to, right? I've been working with the same group of guys for 7 years now, and we are a family, But at some point, I do have to put the dad shoes on and be like, hey, look, I know we're all having fun, but it's time to actually get down and work. And there's a way to get that message across without being a jerk about it,
Yes.
right? And it's very important to for my team and any team that you work with is to set up not only expectations, but also just role dynamics and clear channels of communication. Because if we're going to have a partnership and working together, I want you to know exactly where I am at all times, and I want you to feel comfortable enough to communicate how you're feeling and where you're at so that we can perfectly work together as a team to get our projects out and as perfect as possible.
Nice.
And there's you a fun vignette. You get somebody who's all angry and yelling at people, and you're a translator. What he meant to say was, and you translate into that kind teachable
You make
moment.
a joke about that, but
you
literally
can- that'd
that's
be
what I
great.
do. No, I've done in reality TV when I produce reality. That's what I do
Yeah.
because the person over me or one of the other producers is rah, 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 rah. And hello, I have to keep you guys happy. You're gonna be on the set for maybe 2 hours longer than we told you.
Yeah.
You don't know what I told him, and you're gonna go in the scene with him, and you told me you never want to talk to him again. But I'm like, okay, I need you to talk to him, Charles. Just from like I have to do all of this. Like soothing and patting you on the back. It's a lot of reality. Is a lot of work.
It's the reverse Luther of Key and Peele.
Oh,
It's the
I
reverse
love
of
that
yeah.
skit. What I'm hearing in your story is a lot of flow. So many people resist, but you're like, I wanted to do this. And the Dina, I want to make sure I didn't mispronounce that one. She says, okay, if you learn it, then I will show you some things. And you went, done. And you jumped that hurdle. So many people resist the process and think, oh, I'm being challenged. And you even told the story about, I've done it. I could do it with my eyes closed. I started to prove myself.
Yes.
But you never let that stop you. And I think that's a key to your success is just going, okay, I'll find my way and flow through. What is something in your career you resisted that you wish you hadn't?
Ooh, this is just going to go to my musical aspirations. I was so hell-bent on choreography and vocals that I resisted learning how to play the piano. And as I got into the studios and was working with artists, I saw that if I had that skill set, if I had mastered that, I could have gone further and commanded the room a lot better. So that has been one of my biggest regrets while I was chasing maybe the shinier bauble up there. I didn't understand where or how important music, playing an instrument was at the time. And I wish I could go back and learn that skill set.
I love that you said you didn't feel like you have the time or energy now. And I get that. The more you do in your career, the more you've learned and honed in on what you're doing. You're like, I could do that. I could learn that now. I'm good, though.
Right. But when I talk to people, I tell them the opposite. Go for it, try it, because I do buy into it's never too late as much as possible. It's just probably pivoting and changing why you do it or why you want to do it. That's the big jump for me and for most people.
I'm sorry, why we create?
Oh, yeah.
Nice little callback.
That is. I didn't even know I did that.
Sounds like you're professional. I thought you had something, Phil.
Nope. Never
It's almost like you're not professional. Awesome. As
I'm
I'm
here so I
messing
don't
up
get
everything.
fined. Yeah.
Questions? Any questions? Come on, step up. All right, we got one coming up here.
I know you guys are so kind for in the morning. You guys should challenge me. Pull it out of me. I don't think so. I might need to take that statement back.
I'm bad at this. Okay. Out of all, sounds like you have a very impressive resume. Some of the stuff you talked about today has been great. Is there anything that's particularly you look fondly on and go, that's the most fun project that I got to work with or work on, or most fun celebrity or person you got to work with and any
Besides
of your
this
career?
panel.
Besides everybody here.
Besides everyone here in this panel, I'm going to go ahead and do the plug for the Cosplay Your Way in Color documentary because it came out of, unfortunately, the pandemic. I was at home. The pandemic happened. Our shows were shut down, and I was thinking, how do I keep this brain moving and working? I don't want to sit here and not do something. And I was like, I want to come out of this. I thought it was only going to be 3 months. I was hoping, and I was like, I want to come out of this with something. And I said, oh wait, I have all this footage, and I haven't used it. I was like, I've always wanted to do a documentary. So I'm an editor as well as a producer. I said, I'm going to cut this together. And I didn't know what was going to happen with it. I didn't shoot it to be broadcast. So I did have some issues with some of the stuff, like with sound, because everything wasn't level, or I didn't shoot in a great space to get the best sound all the time. Some of them had really good sound. So as I pulled that together, and I submitted, I talked to a friend, and she was like, hey, submit it here and let these people know you have it. And I'm like, do you think they would care about cosplay? And she was like, who knows? Try it. And then fast forward to now, because of that conversation, because of the pandemic and my wanting to do something, I have a documentary now with 2 Telly Awards. And I was shocked. So I'm so proud of that, because it was something that I didn't know people wanted to see, and I didn't know that it would be well received. I shouldn't say that. People wanted to see it. I knew that. I didn't know it would be well received by people not in the cosplay community.
That's great. Where can the documentary be found?
The documentary right now is on tour with Geek Fest Film Festival.
Okay.
And you can also find it on Influencer TV.
Great. And what's the title?
The title again is, oh, cool. Cosplay Your Way in Color.
Excellent.
And there's one of the producers back there. Hey, Tania.
Oh, okay. Got the shirt. Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Merch. Oh, you're wearing one too. Sorry. It's all.
Hey, it's not just me.
I love it when a play
all
comes
missing
together.
this shirt. How are they missing this shirt?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Come on up.
Saturday, 10 a.m.
Why comes up? Would you consider doing a second documentary with intent now?
Yes, absolutely. I've been approached for that. I've been thinking of things that I would want to tell. There is a story that I want to tell. Hopefully people are interested in that, because, I don't want to say it here. Somebody will take
Sure,
my
yeah, no,
phone sound.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yes, the short
there you
answer
go.
is yes.
So besides financial reasons, why should someone create content?
Oh my God.
That's a great question.
That is a great question. And financial reasons has been my last thing that I've used. Passion, dedication, connection to, because it moves you. And most of my stuff, and this is why I think whatever success I do have, I've gotten it, is because I actually love it. I think you need to love it so you can take the hits.
Certainly.
Yeah, because the hits are going to come. Nothing's perfect. It's never super smooth. And if I didn't love it, if I didn't have that passion for it, I don't think I would have stuck through or persevered or jumped those obstacles. Financial, sometimes I didn't even know if it was going to come or how it was going to come. I've been lucky enough to get finances from some of the work that I do, because I do it on a national scale. But there are so many great creatives and people making content that do not have the money and are not getting the sponsors and different things like that. And I do want to let people know, like we talked on the panel yesterday, getting sponsors is wonderful, but that is also another entity that can dictate and control how your content is presented. So although you want that, try to align yourself with sponsors that speak to your particular brand or your service or your message.
We joked on one of the shows I used to do a long time ago. We joked about I was going to take over the world, and after the apocalypse happens, I'll be emperor, blah, blah. But I realized it doesn't matter if there's any microphones. It doesn't matter if there's anybody listening. I'm always going to talk. I'm always going to share a story, and that's why I create. I had actually left podcasting for about a year because I thought that was my problem. It was other things in my life that I had to get in line. And internally, by the end of that year, I'm pacing, just constantly, just restless, couldn't. And I went back to my wife because I thought she would not want me to do it, because I thought my choices in early podcasting had led to some issues in our marriage, just paying attention to other people and not my life. And so I said, I need to tell a story. She went, it's about time. I've heard the same story from you 5 times now. Please go up there and record with other people. So That's why I create.
And for me, it's not financially at all. What I normally do with my content is I'm a very silly clown kind of guy, but recently I've pivoted to kind of humanize my mental health issues. Because I can speak openly about my terrible depression, and I speak openly about, my suicidal tendencies and thoughts and intrusive thoughts because I've worked past it. And if I'm humanizing it and talking about it, it makes other people that are dealing with it that aren't talking about it have a window or some point of reference saying like, hey, look, somebody out there is actually talking about it, and hopefully it can help somebody at some point.
All right, we got a
Nice.
question. You can, there you go.
Okay, so in contrast to one of the previous questions, has there been any project you disliked working on?
Disliked working.
Besides this panel.
I know I'm on Twitch, like I can't say some shows. Yes, the answer to that is yes. And it's not because of the project per se. Sometimes when I work on things, and sometimes when I was working in reality especially, I did have an issue, or I developed an issue of presenting people in a certain light. So my answer to that was to create some scenes and create some aspects and story arcs that were, in my mind, uplifting and encouraging. I didn't want a lot of arguing and fighting and flossing in the shows that are sometimes the element for reality shows, but it's what people like to hear. They want to see a train wreck most of the time. But pushing that type of imagery out each time, although necessary, was something I just didn't want to do for everything. So those are some of the shows that I made changes to. Now, with that being said, I didn't dislike the shows. There are some people on the set that were in powers of position that made it disruptive for me, because some people started getting grandiose or thinking it's bigger and better and taking more control than they need to, and missing the point that we are creating and that you need everybody in that room and on that set to make this happen, because if they all quit today, you have nothing.
Got nothing, yeah.
Right? So those were scenarios that I did take on playing the buffer, because I needed it to work. But there are some people and some things that I do not want to work again with in that capacity. I will not deny that. I could hang with them, I can laugh with them, I could talk to them, but because you don't understand, in my opinion, what it is to command the ship and be a resolution-oriented leader, I don't want to work with them anymore.
And that's a really important point, because for me personally, like, I do work with a lot of people that I'm friends with. And sometimes I've had one expectation and I've come out on the other side with a completely different point of view. And it's up to me to be like, hey, you know what? We are still good as friends, but
Yeah.
I can't work with you anymore because it's just, we're not vibing. And it's not on you, it's not on me, it's on all of us. And so, like, having that verbiage and way to navigate properly, like, hey, look, we're still good friends, but we just can't create anymore,
Absolutely.
right? And I don't want to lose you as a friend, and it might
Yeah.
damage it for a couple weeks, couple months, it doesn't matter. But just know that, like, I don't want to lose this partnership, this relationship, while this other relationship that
Absolutely.
we have is ending.
That was one
Thank
of the,
you. Thank you so much for that.
That was one of the hardest lessons I had to learn, because I don't think we said on this panel, but we've said on other panels, it's your baby, right? When you create, it's your baby, and it's very personal. And I had so many people tell me in their relationship, you take everything personal, because it is. I mean, you talking about your depression and stuff. My first successful podcast was me screaming at the wall because I could not talk to anybody about my family issues. I wasn't naming names, but there was nobody in my life that I could talk about. I knew statistically I cannot be the only one. And so I'm just word vomiting all this emotion out, and it's very personal. But what you talk about is, well, it became work. It's like, well, this is work. We can be friends. We just can't create. And I think it's a very hard lesson for all of us creators to learn.
It is. Like when I brought up Dina, we are friends. We've been friends. We work together. What I love about our relationship, because we have yet to have an argument or disagreement to the point where it affected our personal relationship. So because I respect her craft so much, and although she can get in my lane and I can can get in her lane. I'm like, you're the authority. You're the MVP over here. I'm the MVP over here.
Yeah.
We can fill in for each other, but we respect that line.
Yep.
Hopefully that won't change tomorrow. I'll say that today and then get in a big fight with her tomorrow. But as of today, we respect that line.
And you can blame this panel.
And I will blame this panel.
So this is actually going back to the technical end of things. Did you find that your time in the editing bay allowed you to be a better producer and director in the future, if for no other reason than to shoot a little differently so that editing would be easier?
Wow, I love that question, and I have so many wonderful answers for it. It's like I planted you in the audience. Yes, absolutely. So one of the biggest things that I think it did for me, when I went from working on long form to short form, and is everybody familiar with that? It's just basically if I did a movie opposed to a commercial. I still had to tell the story in 15, 30, and 60 seconds that some of us might have taken 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes to tell. When I had to do that, it made me learn so much about myself and how to cut out fluff and just hit those beats and get it out there. Now, the second part of your question, because I have been on a set, because I edit, now when I go to set, I can see a mistake about to happen. As an editor, you see.
Precog.
Right. It's precog. You're like, this is going to be a problem. Please shift this. Just shift it. It's going to save you so much money. We do a lot of VFX, or I work on shows. A lot of VFX has to happen because someone didn't just come on set and do this. And that would have saved $15,000, right?
Game of Thrones with the Starbucks
Oh,
cup.
yeah, with the Starbucks. Look at that. That took a person, maybe 40 seconds to just go and get that cup off there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now we have this big thing, and if somebody does VFX it out, it's amazing. But yes, so the answer is definitely yes. I recommend producers learning how to edit. I know a lot of them will not do that, but it will teach you things to help you and help get the project to the finish line with some knowledge and some discernment and some care, in my opinion.
And for me, you'll save time when you're actually out shooting things because you know exactly what you want your shot to look like. So my buddy Steve, who lives down in Baton Rouge, came up to Gettysburg where I live, and we were shooting some video at night. And since we're both editors, we already storyboard every shot that we wanted to be done so that we weren't out there for 6 hours getting, 45 seconds of
Absolutely.
shots, right? So it's just planning and just having that mindset going into it, like exactly what your vision is. And we storyboard, but we're not artists. We just took a big piece of computer paper and did stick figures exactly what we wanted. So when we got out there, we were able to get in, get out, and just have the footage that we need.
Do you call it computer paper?
Computer paper, yeah.
All right. Did you
'Cause I have a
pull
doc
the
matrix.
ribbons
I got
off?
a doc
Okay,
matrix,
cool.
yeah.
Just making sure.
I'm a retro kind of dude. So.
We got a question.
Hello.
Hello.
So what do you do, or I guess how do you deal, even though you're passionate about something, when you start to feel like no one is there or no one's hearing you, or you feel like no one cares about what you're trying to say, or like in my case, blog about maybe. So where do you find the motivation to keep going with all of that, or to know why you create?
That is a real answer. One that I recently just had to deal with and didn't know I was dealing with. I'm not saying this is the only way, but luckily I have a wonderful, wonderful group of friends and associates that are creatives. So I am such a cheerleader. I find a lot of encouragement through their achievements. And when I watch them and I go to their movie premieres or I see their projects getting put up, I'm so excited. I just went to see Blue Beetle, and one of my friends is in Blue Beetle. So just sitting there and watching the credits roll, and I'm like, I got to get this picture. I hope they don't think I'm recording the movie. But it was at the end. Yeah. And I'm like, I got to take this picture. So I took a picture so I could list his name. Like, that stuff gives me energy. Recently, I was asked to take on I was going to say some mentors at work. And I was like, oh my God, you want me to meet with these people on Fridays? I'm not going to meet with them on Fridays. Are you crazy? And they came in. They were fire. I loved every bit of them. I was teaching them how to put together a pitch so they could pitch TV shows. And as we were going through that process, I got reinvigorated. I got recharged because teaching them the stuff that I knew, but seeing how they accepted it and came up with concepts and I was like, wow, I'm dropping the ball. I need to be working on my stuff again. It gave me so much energy. So that's another way that I find it. I truly am a person that gets excited when people are making moves and growing. And it's a gift and a curse. I want to help if I can. So I really find that recharge in helping others. Because if I hit a wall, I'm like, something's wrong. I just need to go and help somebody else. And when I can provide that for you, I do it. And it comes back. It always has so far. Hopefully it doesn't change.
And when you're feeling that way, avoid the people critique or bring you down, right? This middle QR code is the digital media track social stuff. It's a link tree. The first one is our Discord. Open, it's free. So many creators, so many people like Barr who want to help and plug in. And just you go there and you say, hey, would somebody just give me some positive feedback on this, and they will, or saying, hey, I'm feeling unmotivated. People will jump in and help with that because everybody hits that low point.
Of course, and we live in a society now where finding your community is very easy. There's people always out there that want to support indie creators and stuff like that. I was going to mention the Discord as well because there are hundreds of people that just want to support local or indie artists, and just they don't care what the content is. They just want to pump each other up, which is great. But Facebook groups, Discords, even small communities on Reddit, right? The numbers at the end of the day don't really matter because if you're creating and having fun doing it and you're happy with your content, that's the only thing that should matter. Because if you're having fun, it's going to come through your content and people are going to see how fun that content is, and it will just slowly snowball into something beautiful.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and remember, you're not alone. We all hit that wall. Yeah. We are all sitting in that space. We're like, oh my God, are people going to like it? I don't care how much I do. I always have butterflies because everything you do is not going to be well received, and you just don't know. You don't know. So just you're not alone, but definitely dig back into things and people who are doing stuff that you admire. It doesn't even have to be in your field. If you have a friend that bakes cakes and he or she is like, hey, I love this decoration, go over there and sit with them and just feel that passion that they have. You will absorb it as long as you're around people that love what they're doing and are pushing the envelope some.
I just also as a reference, yesterday I had a panel in here about imposter syndrome. If you didn't get to see it, the VOD will be up on our Twitch and our YouTube. It was very therapeutic for everybody, even the panelists up here. So just give yourself an hour at some point and watch it because it was a really, really intense, wonderful panel.
It was a great panel. I'm just going to give you my personal. I'm not being funny. My personal.
I don't believe him because I have imposter syndrome.
But into that, you got to do two things. You got to get past yourself and put it out there, and then the second thing is you have to reject the negative and accept the positive. And we do the opposite. Oh no, I'm not good enough. And your friends, your families, our community, somebody's telling you, oh, this is great. Yeah, it could be better, sure, but this is what you're doing is great. No, and we push ourselves down. And then we get into that alone hole, and then we don't put anything else out. So you have to put it out there.
Always.
So I have two things. First, I want to thank you guys for putting out the mental health stuff.
Hell yeah.
I'm a therapist on the West Coast, and probably 50% of what I do is trying to destigmatize coming in and asking for help.
Good.
So it's huge
Yes.
that you're doing it from this place. Second, you mentioned getting noticed by others. When did you first notice that you made it for yourself?
Oh, you know what? I don't even know if I've made it yet.
That's that imposter syndrome.
That's imposter syndrome. I think I went to a red carpet party. I think it was a premiere. And I was just humbly in the room like, oh, my God, I love this person. and I went up to one of the producers and one of the actors to introduce myself because I'm like, oh, they don't have a clue who I am. And I was like, I'm Jabbar. And they were like, I know. And I was like, how do you know? Oh, you worked on such and such. Didn't you do my first show that I was on? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And they were like, we know who you are. So at that moment, I think it was just a click that I'm just not invisible in the room like I thought I was. And although what I was doing for them was not the most glamorous and upfront thing, because, you know, people like to be in the front, that they took the time to see who made them look good on the television screen. So when I ended up on another project, that person was comfortable with me and probably was like, yeah, I want to work with him, but I didn't know it because I didn't have direct lines of communications to them. And that gave me a push, or made me say, you know what, although people are not saying things, some of them are watching, and you just have to like dance like what? No, that's not the right phrase. I'm using the wrong thing. That was dance like nobody's watching.
Nobody's watching.
You need to move like you're being watched all the time in a positive way. But that also goes back to doing things that you're passionate about, that you care about, and not trying to do them for someone else's enjoyment or someone else's affirmation.
Yes, you got to do it for yourself. So let's talk about what you do for yourself. Your gambit is one of the best gambits I've ever seen.
Thank you.
Your cosplay,
Dude, I saw
right?
it this morning, and I was
It's
like,
so good.
damn.
I'm like, oh, you wore your cosplay your way shirt, not gambit. Cool.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
But so cosplay. I mean, your social media is amazing. You do so many amazing cosplays. What was the moment where you're geeking out? I met fill in the blank. I met Tyler Perry, and Tyler Perry, not literally Tyler Perry, but that level of person went, oh, I love your cosplay, and they geeked out on you.
Ooh. Oh, I have it. George Perez. Okay? When I tell you, this man influenced my life. I have loved him from a distance. He's my play uncle, and he didn't know it. And you know, all of the comics, seeing his name, living in that world, watching a world where resolution did work and justice was served through his art. And I love the character Jericho. And I said, you know what? I'm a black guy. I'm doing Jericho. You know, whatever. I don't care what anybody says. And I put my own spin on it. And I went to a photo shoot, and George Perez came up to me and said, I love your Jericho. I love what you did to it. I want a picture with you. And I was like, what?
And then,
Don't talk to me, sir.
did you black out at that point? Did you,
I
fall on
was
the
so
ground?
giddy and so in love with everything at that moment and floating on the cloud.
Do you know how quickly I would disassociate and go out of my body? just blank stare, turn off. Like,
It was just this, all the light was shining on me. I was glowing. I said, absolutely. And I was so flattered because I did my own spin on it. And he said, I love it. I made it an afro instead of curly hair. So I had a blonde afro and stuff. He was like, I love it. Let's go.
I really wish you would have power moved and said no and then walked away.
That would have been epic.
Or you're like, all right, so I'm your next character, right? When you start drawing, we have a Twitch question.
Okay.
Okay, so Skimpkin PhD asks,
Simpkin.
as an educator, I want to encourage my students to create. But do you feel that creating in a studio space, not your own space, is a large barrier to first-time creators? In other words, do you need your own studio?
So I'm going to repeat it so we get it recorded here. So Simpkin says, as a educator trying to teach kids to create, should you have your own studio, or is working in somebody else's studio maybe a barrier? How should you create in what space?
Years ago, I would have said yes. I do think you can learn a lot from being in a room together, and people can debate and talk about things, and you can just feel things through osmosis. Now, because we've had so many years in practice of doing things virtually and on Zoom, I do think that you can educate. I think you can teach. I have educated and taught through the medium of Zoom or social media or some way. So I don't think it's going to deter you. It's all about your passion. It's all about your plan and your connection to the people you're teaching and what they want and how much they want it, because it can happen either way. Now, I will say, being in a space together, if you're a person that likes to brainstorm and you get to feel, I can look over here and say, oh, how did you do that? And you tell me, that's a wonderful thing. But it also depends on what type of person you are. So I'm going to say, no, I don't think it's a barrier.
I'm curious as to flow. Like, as we create, we set up our own flow. And you sat down, you told the story sitting down at the editor's desk, and of course they had their stuff set up and you still were able to do your cut. Mm-hmm. How important is, as you develop your style, to then build your own studio, because we all have our own workflow?
I think it's very important to have your own workflow, because that way, as you grow and expand, you will have something to teach. You have a foundation. It's nothing worse, I shouldn't say nothing worse, but it's not a good time or a good scene when you need help, because now you just got a bigger project. Sure. And you need, I have to hire these two, but I have no structure and workflow. So when they come in, you do it your way, you do it your way, and now it's not the way that I want it, ultimately. So now I have to double back and try to fix and tweak and talk, and you're like, well, this is how I do it. So workflow is absolutely paramount, especially for expanding.
Building that foundation so you can go.
But also, every project is completely different, right? Because what worked in one way for one project is not going to work the same way every time. So, like, I do find some seclusion perfect for some of my projects, and I can be down there alone for hours with no windows and no time, and just get nails to the wall, and that works great for some things. But then other times I do need a team, and I do need other opinions, and I do need, some constructive criticism and little tweaks, because I have been looking at the same thing for hours. Mm-hmm. I could be missing something very simple, like a 2003 and not 2023 on the banner right in front of us, right? So it takes a lot of people to double check some of the work that isn't done properly, or things that I'm just brain dead and not looking at correctly.
My partner in one of my other jobs that I do, he likes to say, many hands makes the load light. Right. And I know it's not his own phrase, but he says it all the time, because, like, we flow. You have to help each other out.
Absolutely.
But also, I believe that at some point you can have too many cooks.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's truly a balance. It's truly a process. So when I was talking about process, it's definitely like, the edit, the review, the first review, the blah, 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 the second review. Those things, for me, are constant. I say this is how I want to do it. Now, the length of time in between and how we approach it can vary, definitely. But this is my first draft. This is the review. This is the graphics pass. I need you to do another pass. All of this stuff. So absolutely.
The first time you had to draw a line, say, no, this is what I want, when you had creators going, but this is how we do it, or somebody maybe from top going, you can't, when you can't is the enemy of creation. Was it hard the first couple of times? Like, no, I'm going to do it, so either I got to do it my way or go.
It should have been hard. Unfortunately, I can get a little sassy. And I remember a situation where the top boss, came downstairs into my suite when I was editing, and I was putting music in for this edit that I knew was fantastic. And he said, that's not a good track, use something else. And I said, well, respectfully, sir, I am the one that is out in the clubs that's dancing to this music. I am the target audience for this package that we're putting together. I don't know how old you are, but I'm guessing you're maybe 60 and you're not a person of color. So I don't think you can dictate to me what people of color at my age are going to be looking at. And I said, so I don't know why you took that opportunity to say that. And he was like, well, okay. And I said, yeah, it's fine. I was like, just trust me. Let me put the music in that I know works. And then you can come back when I'm working on something else. I basically want to say, when I'm dealing with someone in your target audience, I'll listen to you.
Yeah. I love that.
And how'd that work out?
It got through.
Yeah. Oh,
because-
weird.
Yeah. He had to pull back because I think when he came down dictating that, other people heard it too. I was like, what are you talking about? That's not the way we want to go. And he had to take a minute. So thankfully he wasn't so egotistical. And it wasn't a nasty
Because you could have gotten
conversation.
fired.
I could have gotten. He wasn't an egomaniac to where he was like,
Good.
do it my way. Because he finally listened, but he just came in with the wrong sting. It was just too hard coming in talking about change something.
Yeah.
You're not the target audience. So kind of be open to your consultants too when you guys working on a project. Be open. Have a period where people can come and chime in and tell you stuff. Yeah.
Man, I need to get in your mentor class. I want to learn to talk like that. Because my background, where I came from, everything was a fight for me. Mm-hmm. And so that's my knee-jerk reaction is as soon as somebody gives me something, I just kind of stand up a little bit taller. I'm like, really? We're going to go and that's never the best way, right? Yeah. And just maybe like, I don't know why you took the opportunity to say that, but come back. It's like, holy cow, can you do a class on that? I'm taking notes on it. I'm going to quote that next time somebody tells me something wrong today.
It's worked for me in a lot of ways. It's not always easy. It's not always easy, but it's just who I am. So you kind of, when I make statements like that, I know I'm always at risk. So I understand what could happen, and I think that is what helps me get through it.
But it was so unoffensive and drawn a line in the sand, But
I can't wait to help you build a Patreon for your motivational inspiration speaking.
I'll sign up, $1 a month. It'd be more. It'd be a lot more. Masterclass on sassiness.
Masterclass.
And Master Sass.
Master Sass. Look,
this
we are
This is why they are creators. Okay? Master Sass.
That's beautiful. And it is right at our time. So, Phil, where can they find you?
I am Philip D. Keating, the Imaginary Nomad, all over Twitch, Twitter, Instagram with a 1. I am part of Botched, a D&D podcast. We are an improv comedy troupe that is loosely based in the draped skin of 5e D&D. If you guys want to come out tonight, we have this thing called Blood Feud. It is a Family Feud-style game show based in D&D questions with audience participation. That is 10 p.m. over in the Marriott. So check us out there later on tonight.
And Barr, I want to say thank you for coming on. I used to always say I may not always be right, but I'm never wrong. Mm-hmm. And so far, my instincts have proven correct. And you were amazing on Why We Create, and I knew you always would be. And thank you. What is the thing you want to tell the people to find you?
Well, thank you for noticing me. I guess we can add that to my list of when I was noticed. So you can find me at Barr Foxx, that is with 2 R's and 2 X's. You can also find me at Cosplay Your Way on all social medias for both of them. And if you would like to look up my TV shows and the things that I've worked on, you can go to IMDb, I guess, and some other places under Jabbar Lastly.
And I am the Rock Out of Podcasting, Charles McFall. This is Finding the Stories. Season 1 has been produced, and we're working on Season 2 as we go right now. So thank you all for coming out and being a part of DragonCon, and I hope you have a great convention. We got a lot of great stuff coming up tonight. QR codes for Cure, QR codes for our community and everything else we do. And if you're interested in earning a medal for free, well, not free, you get the medal, but free being you're already going to walk 5K this weekend, there's the Bolt. So thank you for coming out. And have a great day.